What I love about content marketing world is the community.
I didn't realize how many content marketers there are of us out there.
It's a really vibrant community of people that take what they do very seriously but have a lot of fun doing it.
What surprised me is just how welcoming and friendly everybody is.
I really want to emphasize the inclusiveness and the warmth that's here.
The human-to-human interaction and the community feel that exists at content marketing world is second to none.
Content marketing world has a very distinct and unique culture, which for me is the biggest draw.
The networking aspect has been absolutely phenomenal. Everyone here is just so eager to learn and reach out.
So you're not only learning from the speakers, but you're learning from the people that are sitting right next to you in the room.
You build lifelong friendships. I have some friendships here that every year it's like coming home and coming back to family.
You come back to people who understand you, who understand your job, who understand the challenges you're facing, and you can't do that at any other conference.
Last night, and we're sitting there and we're just at a table and just people just keep approaching, and it's just like a revolving door of just like, hey, how are you? What do you do? How can we help each other?
I find the vibe and the atmosphere here, it's really conducive to growing and learning and sharing.
It really doesn't feel like networking. It just feels like we're all content marketers and we're just here to learn, share.
You don't feel alone here. All you need to do is open your mouth and you're received very welcomely.
And it doesn't just stop here. I can connect with those people at any time throughout the year.
It is an insane group of people. I can't believe you're considering not coming. You need to get here.
Hello, everyone. This is Amanda with the Content Marketing Institute. I'm so happy that you're joining us today for another episode of Live with CMI. And I'm excited to be joined, as always, by my colleague, Joseph J.K. Kalinowski. And hi, J.K. I found something for you. Oh, hey.
Oh, look at that.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're what, 29 years old today?
Let's just say I'm 29 with 21 years experience of being 29. How's that sound?
There you go. I'm going to use that one from now on.
Thank you very much. I am turning the 50-year-old mark today, mid-century. So it's I don't feel 50. Well, I do, but I couldn't be more happy to be here today to spend it with you and our lovely guests. We have some great stuff going on. But I can't believe it. 50. What the heck just happened?
and this is the best way to spend your 50th birthday with me, of course.
That's exactly it.
Awesome. Well, we have a great show to celebrate your birthday here, JK. So tomorrow here at CMI, we are releasing one of our most highly anticipated research projects of the year, our 2025 Career Outlook for content and marketing professionals. And each year we survey hundreds of marketers from around the world. We ask them all kinds of stuff about their career goals, hiring trends, generative AI, how much money do they make? So today we're going to give you, our live stream viewers, a sneak peek at the results, right, JK?
That's right. Today we have the one and only Robert Rose. You know him, you love him. He's joining the live stream to dive into some results that we got, which some were expected, but some to be honest, we were a little surprised about. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. Plus, since we're talking about careers, if you're on the hunt for a job, we also have Amy Fair, who will give us some tips on getting through the good, the bad, and the ugly of this job market. Amy is a wonderful friend of the brand, our brand, and she has been a big advocate for CM World, and she is uber smart when it comes to this stuff. So I can't wait to chat with her.
Yes, she has some experience she's going to share with us. But before we get to all that, we want to let you know that this live stream, as always, is brought to you by the Content Marketing Institute. We're the leading training and education organization for all things content and marketing. So you can head over to contentmarketinginstitute.com for tons of great resources. And we want to remind you that I believe Content Marketing World is 5 weeks away. And since it's pumpkin spice season, we have a spicy little discount for you. You can save $200 off your conference pass until this Friday, September 20th. Just use that code there, SPICE200 to save. Head over to contentmarketingworld.com for all the details, and we will hopefully be seeing you in San Diego. And if you do come, please let JK and I know, because we'd love to meet you, so we can set up a time to meet you. We would love to do that as well. So back to today's live stream. As always, as you join us today, give us a virtual wave, say hello, let us know where you're joining us from. It always makes for a more engaging live stream when we hear from all of you. So feel free to drop a comment, or if you have a question for Robert or Amy as we go along, we'd love to hear it. Just drop it into the comment section. So let's start it off today, JK, by giving everyone the question of the day.
All right, let's do it. Let's get the ball rolling. So let's ask, do you think it's hard for marketers to find jobs right now? Take a look at our data. So you'll see that 33% of companies laid off employees in the last 12 months. 68% believe that finding a job in marketing today is more challenging than it was 5 years ago. On average, it took 3 months to find a new job. So the question is, what have you been experiencing? Does this seem to jive with what your experiences have been? Like, is it tough? Is it like, do you agree with some of the research that we found? We would love to hear from you. And as Amanda said, let's keep the conversation rolling in the chat, because some of these numbers just blew us away when we were going through our data. So fill us in. Let me know. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I have, as you're here, for some reason it's not popping up on my computer screen, but she said, it took me a year to find a new job. I applied to 80 positions and was freelancing the entire time to pay my expensive NYC rent. It was rough, but I learned a lot from my LinkedIn network and support system, like Amy Fair, which we will talk to her in a little bit. So let us know. We love to hear. We were a little surprised by some of the data, so we would love to hear from you. Like, what are you experiencing out there? Because I know from my LinkedIn feed, it seems to take a little longer than 3 months for people to find a job. So I would love to hear from all of you. So let's move on now to our first guest. As we mentioned today, our new 2025 Career and Salary Survey will come out tomorrow. And for our content marketing professionals, so we'll give you a sneak peek today here. That we can give you a link to the research right now if you want to go over and check it out. We asked them about industry layoffs, AI's impact, phantom jobs, return to office mandates, and how all these are impacting careers in marketing today. So we're going to dive into some of this, right, JK?
That's right. And joining us today, he really needs no introduction, but Content Marketing Institute's Chief Strategy Advisor, troublemaker, Robert Rose is here to help. And I'm so glad that he's here, because after Sunday, I figured, being the world's most devout Cowboys fan.
Oh dear, you're going there already. All right, fine.
That's harsh, JK.
Robert, thank you for being here, buddy. This is great having you on.
Thank you very much, and happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like I said, we asked some people how they are doing. This, I can't see your name on here. I think it's Alexis. Laid off in February, small niche industry, still looking with very little success. So hopefully we will have some tips for you today. Someone is joining us today from India as well. That's interesting. So we'll get to some tips for everyone today. Okay, Robert, as we said, we started here off the top talking about, these stats here. 33% laid off in the last 12 months, 68, which I, believe is hard finding it. 3 months on average it took to find a job. What is going on out there? That's the question. What do you think is going on?
Well, I think we can all agree that it's been a weird 18 months, a weird 24 months. I mean, really, if you're in marketing, there's a lot of articles that are out these days, and I happen to agree with them, which speak about the idea of sort of the quiet recession, which has really hit marketing and specifically B2B marketing. And so I think there's an undercurrent here because we keep hearing the thing that the economy is good and the economy is strong and everything is fine. And it probably generally is. And so when we start thinking about the sectors, right, whether it be B2B or whether it be specifically marketing or whether it be B2B marketing, I think we get into much more interesting territory where there's a lot of diversity in terms of what's really happening, right? So when we look at something like 33% of companies, jettisoned marketing employees in the last 12 months, I would hazard a guess and say that number is probably not terribly off of where it normally is, right? So yes, about a third of companies will jettison some marketing employees every year, right? That's just the way sort of marketing is. It's a very short tenured business. However, having said that, I think when we start looking at numbers like the 3-month stage and some of those things, I think it really depends on where you sit. As we've heard from some folks in the audience, sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 8 months, sometimes it's, I'm hearing as long as 8 to 14 months in terms of finding a new job. So it can be really tough out there depending on the sector, right? So if you're in healthcare, for example, probably not terribly hard to find a job right now. Healthcare is thriving right now. They actually have a demand for employees that has really been strong. Pharma in the same way. But things like tech, services, professional services, especially things like consulting, agencies, and tech, especially big B2B tech, haven't seen that same kind of sort of flourishing. So I think it's really depending on where the sector you're in to know where it is. I can tell you from my own experience, it's been a rough 24 months.
Yeah, I think freelancers, I've heard a lot of that from freelancers or consultants for sure. Divya here, for some reason your name's not popping up, but she said it took her 9 months to get a full-time job. So that to me is what we're hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert, real quick too, we're going to hop into talking a little bit about AI as well. And
of course, it's been 27 seconds since we've talked about AI. That's
right. But before we hop into that question, going back on your last answer, how do you feel some of these, like you were saying, like 8 to 14 months, do you think a lot of that has to be the lack of jobs available or oversaturation of people looking for jobs? Or do you think it's just a mixture of both?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think you had a lot of people, especially in the tech industry, because of the over-indexing that the tech industry did, during post-pandemic, overhired in a lot of areas. And so you had a flood of basically new marketers, young marketers who had entered the market into jobs that sort of found themselves without one. So there was an oversupply issue for sure of especially new and young marketers that had quite honestly displaced during that post-pandemic the older sort of Gen X and Boomer marketers in many ways, because a lot of those folks took early retirement or sort of thought that we were change careers or whatever it was. And so you had an oversupply issue, but then you had sort of the macroeconomics of whether it was the problems in the tech industry, the problems with interest rates and inflation and investment by companies into marketing, and the sort of oversaturation of change management, like a lot of innovation projects, a lot of marketing change projects that were started in 2020 really sort of, didn't really take root until 22 and 23, where you had a lot of companies who were like, hey, we're just going to put our heads down for a year and a half and see, what happens, right? Without, not going to hire anybody. We're not going to increase our budgets. We're just going to get the stuff that we said that we were going to do coming out of 2020 done. So I think you had both, right? An oversupply of people looking for jobs, which I think over-indexed challenge on the certainly the older marketing set. And we could have a whole show on where ageism right now is and those kinds of things. But we also had sort of a challenging macroeconomic environment for a lot of different sectors.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, thank you for that, because I that was the one question I had coming into this, kind of going over our notes and discussing. And then let's get into it. You and I, the three of us were chatting about AI before we even started this. So let's get the question out there. So we also wanted to know how AI is impacting the job market. Just 3% of marketers say their team has replaced employees with AI tools, but that's not the full story. In open-ended responses, many told us their employers won't be replacing laid-off marketers anytime soon, meaning AI may be quietly shrinking teams after all. So is AI taking our jobs or not?
No, it is not. That is definitively it is not. There was another number that I found fascinating that Gartner did actually, where they found that they looked at 300,000 job placement ads and found that less than 1% of them actually had, or excuse me, less than 3% of them actually had AI as a requirement, as a skill, or basically said that it would require AI as part of the job. And so what seems to be happening, and again, with everything AI, we have to say what seems to be happening. What seems to be happening is that companies, there's a definitive pressure to create efficiencies with AI. And the hype that is around AI right now being really propagated by the bigger AI companies. And there, I mean, everything from the Microsofts to the Googles to the OpenAIs to the Anthropics to all of them, is this creativity and content is made more efficient with AI. So you've got a lot of CEOs, a lot of CMOs, a lot of leadership that is going, ooh, they see the efficiency on the wall, and they're trying as best they can to see if they can actually do without. In other words, they're trying to see if they can actually not replace people, which I think are not being replaced because they're saying proactively, let's do with AI. I think what they're doing with AI is teaching their people to say, hey, you need to use this. We need to figure this out. And most companies are still way in their experimentation mode. But then I think those that are actually not replacing because they think AI is the answer are going to start to soon learn that this is not, most of the use cases that we see really moving the needle, I'll put it this way, most of the use cases with AI that we're seeing with large companies, small companies, medium-sized companies are basically extra things that people can do. In other words, more things that resources or people can do with the tool rather than replacing the activities that people did. So in other words, they are enhancements or additions to the people capabilities rather than efficiencies and needing less people to do it. And I think that trend is going to continue on.
Yeah. Go ahead, JK.
Oh, no, I was just, I couldn't agree more, because, just from the creative standpoint, and Amanda, I know you're going to chat a little bit about this as well, but from the creative standpoint, I'm a big user of Adobe Creative Cloud, not to name drop or anything like that, but they are, they've exclusively coming at creatives like designers and artists and stuff like that, talking about how you can enhance. Robert, you've always said it, because you and I have talked about this forever, about how AI is just another tool in your toolbox,
right?
Especially when it comes to creativity. So I've noticed that a lot of companies are kind of wrapping their head around that mindset and selling it, because I think perhaps that they were starting to scare a lot of people when AI was first coming out and becoming very, the generative AI coming out and doing a lot of work on its own. Good, bad, or ugly, people really got scared. And I think some of these companies are like, perhaps we should show as it more of an enhancement than, because it's given us a bad rap if they're talking about job replacement.
Yeah, I think Adobe is one of the only companies that's getting the messaging right.
Yeah.
And in talking about how it becomes, it's just another palette or another tool in the existing toolbox that helps you express your great, wonderful, creative ideas in different ways, right? So, the classic example of this in Adobe is, one of the things that I found most interesting. You take a photograph and then you sort of, you want that sort of horizontal version of it, and so you can have it extend the background, right? Extend the background automatically, which is just saves you. You could do that manually, but it just saves you a lot of time to be able to do that. That's the kind of thing that I think is really interesting. The others sort of have this attitude that creativity is somehow a problem that needs to get solved, and that's where I think it really starts to fall down, right? It's like, do we really want less human creativity in our businesses to be replaced by, the most average of all content that can get created, which you can. It's not that you can't do that. You can absolutely, if your goal is to reduce the number of humans and human creativity in your creative department, you can do that. But I would be very, very cautious of doing that for any kind of long-term value.
Right.
Yeah. And as we mentioned, the research when we asked them about Gen AI was conflicting. So, on one hand, it shows efficiency, right? It saves time or whatever. But on the other hand, they have deep misgivings about the quality, right, of the content. So 69% say it produces, mediocre content. So at this stage, Robert, what's your best advice for marketers when it comes to these AI tools and evolving in this fast-moving industry?
Yeah, well, the first one is to understand what you're really trying to solve. And that sounds like a weird way to put it, but what I mean by that is that what many businesses are doing now is sort of looking for an answer that AI can solve, right? And sort of just it's the literal version of throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. And what they're mostly finding are interesting ways to has individual contributors, individual people in business to make them, do something that they do better. But what they're not finding is any kind of integrated leverage point. And because they're not understanding the question that they're really trying to answer. And so they end up with, I saw one, where one of the CEOs or founders of Anthropic said, we had a bank come to us with 500 use cases, right? It's like, okay, 500 use cases for a technology. That's telling me you don't have a strategy without telling me you don't have a strategy. And so the idea is we have to understand what question we really want answered so that we can pressure test it, so that we can make a small number of use cases and test those things. And so what we're finding is that right now, and again, but the right now and today, and because it's changing so fast, right now the most interesting is that efficiency around derivative content, right? So what is AI really good at? Pattern seeking. So if you have code to write, if you have structured content to create, like SEO metadata, if you have abstracts, if you have summaries, if you have, editing capabilities for video, for audio, all of those things are great, wonderful applications of where AI can help save us time in doing making derivative content out of a master or expression human idea. What it's not good at is creating story. It's not great at creating original art. It's not great at creating the kinds of things that would really differentiate us. And so there we still need those human ideas. So if we can take those human ideas and then scale those using AI, then we're a lot better off today, right? That's where things are today.
So on the flip side, what are the organizations or the marketing leaders, what do they need to do to make the most of their tech, of their talent, so like everyone can thrive in this environment?
Yeah, to me, honestly, and I have a bit of a bias at this because I tend to look through the lens of content and how content works as a as a leverage point for creating the experiences that we want to move our business forward with. It is understand your content strategy, right? In other words, the first step to understanding whether AI can be helpful or not at any step in the content lifecycle is you've got to understand your process, because if you don't understand your process, there's the wonderful quote, I can't remember off the top of my head who said it. It's like, with no standard, there can be no improvement. And so, in other words, if there's no standard for your content strategy, then how are you going to know whether you've improved it or not? How are you going to know whether or not that you can do something with 4 employees instead of 15 employees, or whether or not you need all 15 employees, but it will make you 50 times more productive? So understand what it is we're solving for and the standard, the content strategy that we need first. Then we can start to say, okay, will this new innovative tool help us do things in a better, faster, smarter, more efficient way?
Cool.
Right.
All right. Well, okay. So we got AI out of the way. So let's.
Okay. Yeah. Done. Sucked all the oxygen out of the room of the last 18 months for sure.
So let's talk about marketers and their jobs. Actual, let's talk about the physical jobs or what they're doing. So we found out that marketers like their jobs, but it doesn't mean they're actually staying in place. So 76% report being satisfied in their roles. 35% are actively pursuing or highly interested in finding another job, which is actually up from last year. So it seems marketers are still eyeing how to grow and advance their careers, but and employers still need to take notice. All right, does that sound right?
It is, and I think in many ways what we see there are sort of it's a double-edged sword, right? Which is, marketing has become a content-centric business, right? It is around creating compelling content-driven experiences, whether that's in shared, paid, or owned media. So in many ways, the whole idea that we've been talking about for the last 15 years of the marketing department becoming more like a media organization has come true, right? Broadly speaking, not even about content marketing, but broadly speaking, it is a content-centric idea. And so when you look at that for a second and you go, great, that's wonderful. Well, it really provides, it's the reason I love marketing so much, is because I get to create cool stuff. I get to create cool content, cool experiences, valuable experiences for customers. That's the fun and interesting and challenging part of being a marketer these days. So it doesn't surprise me at all that we like our jobs. We like what it is we do. However, where companies have really failed, I think, from the content evolution in marketing, is that there's not a career path for it. There's no, in other words, at some point, if you're content centric, if you're a writer, an editor, a producer, some form of content creator in marketing, you just hit a ceiling at some point. You just hit a ceiling of saying, hey, there's nowhere to matriculate for me other than to get into product, go into sales, go into, so there's no clear career path other than straight up into the CMO role. And what a lot of marketers are discovering is they can take that next leap by going to another company, right? They can go, hey, I can move up from manager to director, or director to VP, or VP to C-suite. And basically I can't do that in the business that I'm in. So where companies, I think, have really struggled is providing for a clear and activated career path for content specifically, but marketers more broadly. And that's why we see marketing continues to be a churn-oriented function in the business, where, I think the average tenure now is 36 to 48 months, right? 3 to 4 years. It doesn't matter if you're the CMO or not, you're moving along. Now we can argue, and this is a fun debate to have over a bottle of whiskey, which is that a good thing, right? In other words, it can be a good thing to move new blood in and out of companies a lot when it comes to marketing, because it has so much to do with creativity. So that might just be the new normal that we're in, where people move around in marketing a lot, or there's a lot of freelancers, there's a lot of temporary, there's a lot of, bringing in that infusion of creativity and then moving in new blood as it needs to be, very much like an entertainment or media company. So whether it's a good or bad thing, I don't know. But what I do know is that there's no solid career path in most organizations right now for content and marketing.
Great. Which is something you've been talking about for years.
Yeah, that's right.
Robert
That's right.
has been talking about that for quite a bit. So, well, thank you, Robert. We have so much more in this report, which comes out tomorrow, including how much do marketers really make? And it might depend on where you live, not surprisingly. But again, our 2025 Career Outlook officially comes out tomorrow, and we're giving you, our live stream viewers, a sneak peek now at this link if you want to head over there and check it out before anyone else. We'll drop that link in the comments as well. So feel free to check it out. And Robert, thank you so much, as always, for your insight. And we will see you as well in a couple weeks at Content Marketing World.
I know. I'm looking forward to San Diego. It's going to be a hootenanny. It is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I think that's the first time that word's ever been used on this stream. So,
yeah.
Congrats, buddy.
It is not used quite enough.
Yeah.
Not enough.
You should work that into your keynote, Robert.
There we go. I
Yes.
Don't dare me. Don't dare me. I will get hootenanny and shenanigans in there. So.
Yeah, hootenanny. All right. Well, thank you again, Robert. And we will see you in a few weeks. Take care.
Be well. All right.
Awesome, as always, from Robert. So moving on to our next guest, because, if you are in the hunt for your next position, which many people are out there, and judging from what I'm seeing on LinkedIn, it's a little tough out there. So it can seem daunting to find your next job, right, JK?
Right. So we decided to ask our good friend and CMI community champion, Amy Fair, who is editorial lead at Salesforce Aquint Studios, to share her tips on how to make it through the good, the bad, and the ghosting in the search for a new marketing job. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for having me. Happy birthday, JK.
Thank you so much.
And so you had a little bit of experience with job hunting recently, Amy. So first of all, what do you want people to know about when they're starting a job search in this current economic climate?
I think they typically already have an idea that it's going to be hard. So what I tried to do in my own experience was just have kind of a hopeful perspective. For me, it was scary. I'm the provider for my family. So, when I lose a job, and it's happened several times to me in my career, I freak out because I have to provide for my family. So for me, it was always just making sure that, I was thought of. Like, that was my ultimate goal, was that people didn't forget me. So whether I was, having a coffee chat with someone or, responding to LinkedIn messages, it just felt like there was that hope there, so long as people were thinking of me. And I told myself that I'd really start to freak out when everything went dark. So there were no jobs to apply for. Nobody was, responding to any of my applications. People weren't reaching out to connect and check in on me. That was the point where I told myself, like, that's when you can freak out. Thankfully, that didn't happen despite my 6+ month job search, but it's tough out there. But I think that people just need to know that it's going to be okay. And it's easy for me to say that on the other side. But, in the moment, it's hard, it's discouraging, it's all the disses you can imagine, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine what some folks, we've been going through our chat log here, and there are still some folks that are in it 9 months right now, and it's tough. And I know you have some wonderful tips on, to maybe like expedite the process a little bit. So let's start by talking about like brushing up the resume, the LinkedIn profile. Like how important is it to work on things like this before you start searching? And like, what are some of the things you absolutely must do?
I think you absolutely must keep your LinkedIn profile and resume updated, no matter at what point of your job or your career you're at, because let me tell you, when you get that phone call and you're being told that your position is eliminated, you don't have time to scramble and cull through all these, status reports or quarterly reportings to get all those metrics of all the great things that you contributed to. 15 seconds after that call, your computer might be a brick and all you have is up here. But if you've kept that, kept track of all of those things throughout, then you'll be way better positioned, because the first thing people ask for when you're reaching out saying that you're available is, can I have your resume? Can I, send me your LinkedIn profile. If it's not updated, that just like heightens the anxiety more, trying to get all of those things put together and trying to remember all the amazing things that you did and that you contributed to. So really just trying to have your LinkedIn profile updated, always have your resume updated, because you never know when it's going to happen. I've been blindsided by a layoff. I've also been waiting to be tapped out because it was happening all around me. So I just kind of assumed, yeah, my time's coming. I'm probably not even the best person at doing this, but I think it's really important, because you're not given a whole lot of time once you get that phone call to get all the goodness out of what you've done.
Right. That is such wonderful advice, because if you think about it, many of us have been there where it's like, like you said, 15 minutes. And if you don't have all that stuff logged, yeah, I can talk about what I've done, but if you don't have the metrics or anything like hard proof of what you were doing, and it's gone, and it's just your word, and then you're struggling to build a LinkedIn profile back up off of memory, and you're already in a very heightened state trying to do that. So let's
I was going to ask that the importance of having both ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're a little bit older, maybe you're not quite focusing on LinkedIn, but today is still very important is now important as part of the job search, right? As well as having that resume ready to go.
Absolutely. My dad's on LinkedIn, and sometimes he's the only one who likes my stuff.
So even your dad has his resume ready, right?
Oh boy. So another thing that I'd love to chat with you about that from a personal point, I bring this up because my daughter is going to be coming into the workforce as well. And one of the biggest things I always tell her, just going off of the advice you just gave, I told her about LinkedIn, resume, LinkedIn, portfolio, have everything completely up to date. But another big one, and I can attest from my experience, is networking. Networking is key. So let's talk a little bit about it, and like how important it is to use your network online and offline, and like what are your best tips for doing so? Like what are some of the like online tips, or like do you recommend maybe going to some in-person events to meet up with people?
Why, yes, JK, I do. Go to Content Marketing World, meet all your people, right? Shameless plug for y'all. No, networking's huge. I was looking at my career, and there is only one job that I've ever gotten that I got on my own, where I, found it, I applied, I interviewed, like they hired me, sight unseen, all that. One time. Every other job I got in my career came through a connection in my network. And I think that that's really important that you start early. Like for your daughter, for example, this happened to me during my most recent job search experience. Someone who I met in college. So in college, I was part of the Association for Women in Communication at the University of Texas, and they had a professional chapter in Austin as well. And I hadn't talked to this woman in like way too long. It was embarrassing how long we hadn't spoken. But when she saw on LinkedIn that I was looking for a new role, she sent me this position that she had at her organization. And so I think it's important to make those connections early and then continue to nurture them throughout your career so that it's not awkward when you're going out and looking for a role and you see an opportunity and, oh, I have a connection that works there. Oh, I haven't talked to them in 10, 15 years. So really making sure that you're engaging with folks, especially outside of your time of need, because I think it's easy for us to expect people to come to our help, but it's also important for us to be there and supportive of each other as well. So, you know, when I talk to people about this, you know, if someone's doing really great in their job and it's like their dream job and they're just living it up, there's somebody on the flip side in your network who's having a completely opposite experience and you might not even know it. But if you reach out to them and just, you know, make that connection, let them know you're thinking of them, check in, it can make all the difference because you never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. I also highly recommend taking every call. Anytime somebody offered to meet with me, anytime someone, you know, messaged me on LinkedIn, anytime somebody sent me an email, talk to people. Just keep those lines of communication open, but never expect for an opportunity to come from it. You know, just take the time, show people that you're still there, and make sure that they keep thinking of you.
Yeah. What did when you were job searching for, it was six months, right? Like, what did your day to day look like? Were you like, this was your job for 6 months? You were on LinkedIn. Like, what did your day to day look like when you're doing that job search?
It varied because I think that, yes, I felt like my job was to find a job, but then I also tried to take care of myself because when you're going through this experience, it can be very lonely. And so I really tried to make sure that I was staying connected with people, but then also the things that I love. So like book club, I'm in a book club and I made sure that I stayed on top of, you know, I had plenty of time to read. So made sure that I stayed on top of that. I enjoyed going to spin classes, made sure that, you know, I did that. But then also, you know, among all of the things that I was doing for my job search, do you guys know what happened on November 16th, 2023? Anyone? That's when The Crown season 6 and I sat in my living room and binge watched it. I didn't have a job. I had gone through all the things that week that I knew I needed to get done and I knew I needed to follow up on. And I have no regrets because I needed to, you know, take care of myself.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic.
Self-care,
yeah, definitely
important. Please take care of yourself, everyone.
Yes, and kind of going along with that. So, what's your best advice? It's hard, right? What's your best advice on staying positive and persevering? I mean, you submit hundreds of resumes, hear no response, or maybe you do and go for an interview and then they ghost you. Like ghosting seems to be like the worst thing. So, what's your advice for sort of getting through this whole process?
Okay, for me, I don't think the ghosting was as bad as the rejection. You know, it can be a gut punch to, you know, think like this job was written for me and then to apply and get one of those, you know, automated messages that, you know, we're not even going to talk to you. So I think the ghosting sucks, but I think for me personally, it was the rejection that was worse. But I kept that hopeful attitude, and I tried to grasp onto the positive. Even the little tiniest pieces of positivity that I found throughout the process. And, you know, I wasn't one of those people who posted one of those LinkedIn posts of like, I've done X number of applications, been ghosted X number of times, you know, all this rejection. I tried not to do that for my own sanity and mental health. But what I did do was try to share out more positive experiences. Like I went to Content Marketing World last year and had an amazing time. Learned a lot, met so many people, and made sure that I connected with as many folks as possible. So wrote about that. Also, you know, I tried to stay up on a lot of the industry, like webinars, live streams like this one, things like that. So wrote a post about that because what I found was that sometimes when you're registering for live streams or webinars, they require a business address. I didn't have one. So what I did was I reached out to people that I knew in those organizations. Goldcast and Netline were some of them. And I just said, hey, I don't have a business email, but I would love to participate in this webinar. Can I please attend? No one told me no. And so I think that focusing on the good and the kindness is what really helped me personally get through.
That is a fantastic point because, what you just said about like, I'm sure that you got a little bit of a nugget of advice, or not advice, or something you took away from any rejection, like, or something that you could build on, for the next thing that you're pursuing. But more than anything, you didn't go and turn your any negative experience into this kind of like complaining LinkedIn post, because guess what? The next person that might hire you might see that post and say, look, I don't want, this person is fantastic. They keep posting positive things. They're doing more and more. That's kind of like, even though they're not working right now, they're pursuing their career. They're bettering themselves for the next position, instead of getting on there and just complaining about how hard the job market is. That's very interesting.
It's so easy to do that too.
Yeah.
But it do the hard thing. Find the good.
Yeah. That's great advice. Great advice.
All right, Amy, thank you so much for sharing your experience with all of us. We appreciate it. We will see you at Content Marketing World this year. But in the meantime, where can people connect with you? Because like you said, you should always be connecting, right?
I'm on good old LinkedIn. Amy Fair.
Yep, she should be tagged in all of our posts as well. So be sure to connect with Amy. All right, Amy, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Take care.
All right, awesome. We got a lot in here today. So two awesome guests for sure. So we're just about wrapped up here today. As you said, we've been talking about Content Marketing World. So we have that flash sale going on, but we do have some other events going on here at CMI. So are you ready to finish the year strong with your lead gen efforts? Join us for a free demand gen masterclass, which starts tomorrow and continues on Thursday. This event will equip you with the trends, the tools, and the tech you need to elevate your performance as we close out the year. And there's some really great sessions planned for this event. So we'll drop the link in the comments for you to check it out. And I highly recommend you look over those sessions that are planned, because you might just find something that interests you. And last week, we also did something super fun. We announced our top 7 winners of our Content Marketing Worlds in a special live stream ceremony. And now we need your help with another award. For the first time, we're coming out with our Community Choice Award. I have People's Choice on that graphic for some reason. So we are doing our Community Choice Award for our 2024 Content Marketing Awards. It's been a long week. The 5 finalists held in their respective categories, but just missed taking the top spot. So we're giving them a second chance to be recognized. So if you head over to the link there on the screen, you can read about each of the 5 finalists and cast your vote, and we will be announcing those winners at Content Marketing World. So that'll be a fun little thing we are doing there as well. So what do you think, JK?
Love it. Can't wait. It's, heading out to sunny San Diego is always it's my happy spot. So I can't wait to get out there and see all our friends and, our family members and all that stuff. I hate wishing time away, especially,
I know.
especially now on my birthday. Wishing time away is not a good thing to do. But I cannot wait to get out there and see everybody. It's going to be a fantastic event. We have some wonderful keynotes, and our tracks are just outstanding this year. It's going to be, and it's San Diego. Come on. It's beautiful.
Yes. So, and speaking of Content Marketing World, so we'll be back next month here with special episodes of Live with CMI, the Content Marketing World edition. So every Tuesday at 1 p.m. in October, we will be chatting with some of our amazing speakers about some great topics that they will be presenting at Content Marketing World. So be sure to look for those live streams coming up. And in the meantime, you have a great week. We will see you in October, right, JK?